Oh, hello and welcome to the UBports Q&A. This is the 123 episode of the UBports Q&A. It's been a while. It's been a long while since this Q&A, and it, uh, it it shouldn't have been this long. so let's now keep it up, and let's not wait as long for the next one. So let's get this started. I will start with a little of a personal note. Um, on my end. So I have a small apology for the community because I have been lacking to be active on the community for a little some months back, because of a lot of personal events that happens on my end. So if you have seen me not being that active around for some months back, that explains why. Have a lot of tragic family events that happened. So again, I'm sorry for that, but I'm now back in the community, and really want to move this forward. So, Alfred, you want to start with the news?
Yeah, sure. News to share. First of all, just to mention it real quick, in case you have already wondered uh, whether the shop processing is going further or not, because you purchased something from the shop. Um, People who are responsible for it, especially mom, is on vacation right now, or yeah, vacation, and but processing will pick up very soon, I suppose. And just a little side note for those that have been waiting. So, with that out of the way, there are also two things that Diogo wanted me to mention real quick, and that is remind all the foundation trustees to check their mail. We have something to do. Everyone who is a trustee or member of the trustees, foundation's trustees, should check their mail because we really need to get some election things going further. And the third thing I want to mention real quick, among other things, is the Portuguese UBports community will be at a double event. It's the Festa do Software Livre and UBCon Portugal, both in one. I hope I didn't butcher that spelling too much, but yeah, it's a double event, and we will hopefully not forget to drop the links to the YouTube description after the stream. And as a little side note on my personal end, because as some of you might know or might not know, I am a developer of UBports project, but I'm not funded by the foundation. And for that, I have started a few little side projects, and one of them is called Tide. It's a C++ IDE for tablets, specifically right now for the iPad, but it also works on the Mac. It also has potential to work on Linux because I've started work on that as well. And I would like to show it to you now if Marius allows me with his might. All right. Let's share the screen in case nothing goes horribly wrong here. And this is it. This is a little IDE that I've whipped up over the last few months. So in case you want to support me, either through a donation or by contributing to this project, I would prefer the donation, to be honest, but let's just put it that way. I've made a little IDE here, and it supposedly is very capable, in my personal opinion, to like bring further the development of WebAssembly programs. So what we do have here is, if I find the right file, where is it? There it is. So we can actually just use this little IDE to write C++, and it all builds WebAssembly. It has a debugger in there. You can do releases with it so that you can release the WebAssembly binaries that you build with it. And I think it's a fun little side project to work on next to Ubuntu Touch. And yeah, you can even build the thing. It's pretty quick, even though it has to build so many C files. And you can run it or not if you want. And we even have a debugger in here, as I mentioned. So just a little thing that I whipped up over the last few months, and I'm pretty proud of it. I like it, and I plan to do some more work with it and maybe integrate it with Ubuntu Touch in some ways later on, right? It's using Qt 6, so not as quickly possible to be ported over to Ubuntu Touch right now. But let's see what the future brings, right? And with that out of the way, I think we can go over to the focal news. What do you think, Marius?
Yeah, I can get started on that. So, since it has been such a long time since the last Q&A, we haven't mentioned, or you may or may not know, that Focal has been out for some months now. We have released both Auto 1 and Auto 2 of Focal, and Auto 3 is right around the corner. We hope to release it this month, which is September. And with Auto 3, we plan to migrate all the Xenial users. So if you are currently in Xenial, you will then get an update to if you want to upgrade to Focal once Auto 3 comes, or you can go into settings and switch over. So that and a lot of improvements have been happening on the Focal side. There's so much changes. It has been an incredible undertaking on how much work it has been to bring Focal in to work. There are so much changes. They touched every single library because everything has to be renamed. Everything had to be reworked to work with systemd instead of Upstart. And these changes has been enormous, and even things like upgrading to newer network manager has been quite a lot of work. Newer Ophonos, and even separating to the different Ophono versions and Ophono plugins. There has been, to say at least, if I would talk about all this, it would take the whole Q&A. But trust me, there has been so much work. And when we're talking about work, we have some performance improvements that I know Alfred has been working on. Maybe he will to talk about it.
Sure, yeah. So what has been brewing for almost a year, if not more than a year now, is Halium QSG, which I've mentioned in a past Q&A. And what it does is, you have to imagine it this way. What Qt does is provide basic functionality to put things on the screen, to put controls there, to put buttons there, to put labels, text, imagery there. And the imagery part has been a little bit slow, in my opinion, in the past. And for the developers out there, you don't have to do anything. Halium QSG Context is a Qt plugin that plugs right into Qt itself, which we ship as part of the rootfs. And porters need to enable it if they see it like improving their performance situation. I will make sure to make some documentation available for that soon. But it's there. You can enable it. The Fairphone 4 and the Pixel 3a have enabled it already. And what it does is allow imagery to be put on the screen a little bit faster, and doing so with multi-core hardware in mind. So Halium QSG Context allowed by itself to double the performance of uploading imagery to the GPU. And the second tweak, the scheduler tweaks that we have implemented for the Fairphone 4 and the Pixel 3a, and more specifically for the Fairphone 4, where it's really shining, the scheduler tweaks take it to a whole nother stratosphere. So we've been able to witness a 10 times improvement, literally, through a benchmark application that I wrote, and what it does is like phenomenal. It's great to see that applications can start in an instant. Maybe Marius wants to show something here.
Yeah, I have a video that's made by Ivo Xavier. I'm sorry if I completely mispronounce your name, but this really shows how much faster it has become. And this is not even all the improvements. This was made before the Halium QGS
QSG.
QSC was implemented. So it's even faster now. But let's take a look at this.
So start and it's there. Or the next application, start and it's there. Morph browser specifically, which loads a complete Chrome, and it starts the whole Chrome engine in that amount of time. Like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing.
Which brings me to the point that I wanted to make, or that I have made on Twitter /X/ whatever Elon Musk comes up with next. Hey, that rhymes. So it's sad that so many Android kernel tweaks don't land properly in upstream Linux, and we can't make use of them in a generic way. But in case porters are interested to really rise up their builds, in case they get stability up first, please be a responsible porter. Make the thing go fast with a little bit of schedule tweaking, and you can see the difference. So the Fairphone 4 has like noticed a 10 times improvement here. It's not even a made up number. It's like provable with a benchmark app that I wrote, and it with all the changes in there, the same benchmark that it stays at the 200 milliseconds. So less is better. It stays at 200 milliseconds. Constantly, so it's there. The bottleneck is somewhere else, and yeah, you can tell I like it.
I might actually also have an image that we can show that really shows the performance improvements. If I see here.
Yeah, in the meantime, I will just go ahead and talk about another thing that has been brewing, and that is the changes to Morph, specifically to a Qt Web Engine. As you may or may not remember, I have implemented hardware-accelerated video decoding on it, using the Halium bits that allow us to take the vendor blobs and make them do the magic for us. And in the end, this results in better frame rates now than it was before. So it's basically a part two, a round two of the same patch, which in the end is going to deliver much better frame rates when playing 4K video on your phone. So first of all, 4K video wasn't even possible without it. And now it's getting better with the round two patches because the frame rates are now more steady. They stay up, and they're more in line with what you expect from a 60 frames per second video. So this is, I do start to believe, or I have started to believe that this OTA is very much about performance and gets us to be basically on par with Android and iOS performance-wise. So we are getting there, and I hope it gets better in the future too. So maybe we can tweak it even more on other occasions and in other areas. But the future is it's far ahead, and we'll see where it goes. The next one is stability. So for the benchmark app that I wrote, that I mentioned, during the development of that one, I accidentally found out that Lomiri was able to be crashed due to out-of-memory situations. When an application requests too much memory and leaks memory all over the place, it basically killed Lomiri in the end. So we changed a few parameters, like two parameters for the Lumiri system compositor and for Lumiri itself, so that out-of-memory situations do not kill Lumiri or the system compositor anymore, and applications that request too much memory should not kill the shell anymore. So as a result, wow, my mouth is getting dry. So
Yeah.
for yeah.
So on the more on stability issues, some of the things that I've been working on is it's debugging some of these cellular network stability issues that some devices on Focal has, especially on cellular network that both owns and rents a network where it switches between two different, what should I say, type of cell towers, or type of systems. It seems to not want to reconnect, or sometimes you need to toggle off and on mobile data before it turns on. This has now been partially fixed. There are still some more debug needs to be done. It's a little bit hard to debug since I need to, every time I want to get some log, I need to take a drive to reproduce it. So, but that's also in the pipeline. That's something been spending quite a lot of on. But there is a fix already in, and I hope this fixes it for many people, but I'm not sure if it fixes it for all. So I need to debug this more. But yeah, these images for for the performance improvements, I have gotten them now. So this is before the improvements. Here you can see the time it. Maybe Alfred can explain.
Yeah, so what it does is it takes a 2400 by 2400 image from NASA and uploads it to the GPU like 30 times in a row. So it's the same image, just being put on the GPU in sequence 30 times. And so we have here, like, what does it say? 2,600 milliseconds.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's before.
Yeah.
And this is after.
So
this is on the same device, the Fairphone 4.
Exactly. And 200 milliseconds, it pretty much stays there. There's someone else is now bottlenecking, if there is even a bottleneck to say that. But it's special to Android hardware, to be fair. We are making use of technologies that are usually only available on Android drivers. But nothing stops mainline people to like implement their own plugin using GBM, for example. I have not looked into it too much, but it's certainly doable, right? So the Halium QSG thing is tied to Halium and the way that Halium works and the way that we are integrating Android drivers into the system. But I can tell you, if there's a way to make it on the mainline devices, then sure, please go ahead and do so.
Yeah, and keeping up with more performance improvements and other improvements, the Pixel 3a, I think you've been working on that too.
Yeah, right. So what I've also had to do is, sorry for all the Focal Pixel 3a users who have noticed crashes every now and then, reboots of the device specifically. Those should be fixed now. At least in testing, they have not popped up anymore. And what it does what makes that all work properly is, first of all, I had to disable the suspension of the device. So the device really came out as an always-on device from Google. So it had an always-on screen and very little, let's say, suspension of the device itself, because the screen was always on. And I disabled suspension again, that I enabled prematurely. But to preserve battery life and to improve performance, to do a split here, or at least to preserve the performance that we already had, but to also lower the performance to lower the battery use when the screen is off. I now took some changes from the Sony people from the Sony Xperia dev kernel and integrated them into the kernel for the Pixel 3a again. So that allows to isolate the CPU cores from scheduling, which means they're basically not in use. They're not being worked on. So no tasks are getting used on that. And that allows to preserve battery life when the screen is on. So it takes like a maximum of 3 cores when the screen is off, or 2 cores. I'm not really sure anymore. But when the screen is on, it ramps up the minimum cores, and you can more fluidly run through the system and scroll through things. And yeah, it's supposed to improve performance, or at least preserve performance, while also preserving battery life when the screen is off. Yeah, the Pixel 3a is still my main daily driver, and I hope to keep it that way for as long as possible. Even though we have such shiny devices as the Fairphone 4 as well, you know, that one is the Pixel 3a grew on me. Let's just
Yeah,
put it.
I like how light it is. I think that's what the first thing when I grab it is like,
Yeah,
wow, this is a compact and light device.
exactly. Yeah, and I mean if the choice is between the Fairphone 4 and the Pixel 3a, which are I mean, in my personal opinion, others might have differing views here, but they're among the best supported devices out there yet at the moment. But things can change. So the Fairphone 4 is more of this chunky, thick boy that, like, I have one here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So if you take a look, if you take the back cover off, it's almost as thin as the Pixel 3a. And the choice is really, do you want a low profile phone that doesn't get in your way, or do you want the big, powerful workhorse, so to say?
Yeah.
But yeah. So next up, the Ethercast work. I have been working on a little bit on the Ethercast side again. So Ethercast is what allows us to stream imagery to an external monitor wirelessly. And in this case, we use it for the desktop mode of Lumiri, so that when you take the phone and connect it to a remote display, it turns into a fully convergent experience that morphs into this desktop. So the already convergent apps that we have, they become more usable in the desktop scenario, and the desktop also feels more like it should be on a laptop or a desktop. And the ongoing work is to make it work on more devices, first and foremost, and second of all, improve the that's the only point, to be honest, to be fair. But I do test it with the JingPad, or I did test it with the JingPad, and it works pretty well now. So much so that I have enabled it now on the JingPad and wait for the last remaining patch to be merged that I still have to work on. So yeah, Ethercast, Pixel 3a, stability, and I see that Marius also has a few things here.
Yeah. So before I go to those, I actually will pick out some of the things that recently got merged. And one thing that recently got merged is the start on background services. So it's just a start, but we have been starting on background services where, for this example that I give now is one from Marty, which was made a while back, that let apps can receive location in the background if you accept that. Of course, it's a user toggleable thing. But for example, with fitness trackers and those type of things, and even GPS navigations can take advantage of this, and you can get the more background serviceable, so we can receive in the background. But it is also will eventually be expanded to other applications. For example, music app can play music like Spotify or 55,
Spotify, yeah.
what it's called. can play music in the background while the device is suspended. So that it's made progress on that. Also, I wanted to give some shout out to Rachanan and Lionel, which has been worked a lot on multiple different issues, but I
Oh yeah.
will mention some of them. For example, that we now use the Lineage OS APN DAB, which with APN, those are uh, the cell providers config files type deal. And the reason why we use Lineage OS ones is because it's really up to date. It always gets contributions too, and it's always trace on the tree, so we don't have these issues with mobile data not working on different cell towers and whatnot, because that should be pretty up to date. Um, but but yeah, um, I will continue on some of the other things that I've been working on. Since we're talking about GPS, and I see people been talking about GPS in the comments here, but I have actually been working on a GPS, which is assisted GPS. Um, Assisted GPS is a way for the GPS to get some help from the position of the cell towers. So it measures the position of the cell towers based on their strength from the different cell towers. So if you have 3 cell towers, it measures the distance or the strength of those different cell towers to triangulate your position. That is used on GPS to assist it before it gets signals from multiple GPS or satellites. Or if you're inside, for example, it then sometimes it's not possible to get a GPS signal or GPS fix, as it's called. So that's something I've been working on. It has been a tricky situation because we are again working with binary blobs here. Of course, eventually we like to make this open source. Well, it's open source now, but rely on more open source um, services like the Mozilla location service. Unfortunately, that got shut down, or it's still up, but it doesn't get contributions anymore. So that's a bit sad. So we have to find a different a different type of service that provides the same without needing to use proprietary services. For now, it's using it. It tries to use either uh, it, it something called supplement server, which is the one that provides the information of the position of the cell towers. Currently, it uses the one from Google. It's not enabled yet, but that's the thing. Once that's done, it will be an opt-in. It's a pity that we have to use Google for this kind of information, but we will see if we can find different supplement server or servers that provide these informations about the different cell towers. Or we could even have a proxy server which asks Google's for and then forwards it, but removes all the informations about your device. So it's kind of like a VPN sort of things for the supplement server. Other than that, we've also been working on VoLTE. It's a complicated beast. It's not an easy task. So that's been something I've been working on for many months. I got in. It works ish. You have to fiddle around with a lot of config files and whatnot, and it's possible to call and receive with being in with initiating the calls with CLI and a lot of commands. So it's it's a tricky situation, but we are getting there slowly but surely. Uh, yeah. Do you have more to add to the news, or should I just go to the roadmap?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about roadmap and what is going to happen in the next few months. And of course, these are our plans, development plans. They can change at any time as we see fit, because it's hard to pinpoint these kind of things. But this at least the high level roadmap that we try to follow as best we can, and we want to really prioritize user bugs or paper cuts, as we like to call them, And with these kind of bugs, I mean bugs that really, really annoys people, that really um, makes newer people to Ubuntu Touch maybe not wanting to stay because they are really, really, what should I say? They bug really being annoying. They might not be big issues, but they might be really annoying ones.
Yeah.
So that's something that we really want to focus on. Uh, but at the same time, we also don't do want to do a parallel effort with 202404, which is coming up in about over half a year. So that is also something we want to do in parallel. And the reason why we can do that in parallel now is because we have done all the upgrades, so that it shouldn't be that much work as Focal. Focal was intensely amount of work. This should be like just 5% of that. And also the positive thing is that we have been uploading a lot of these packages, our packages, to Debian, which means that got synced to Ubuntu, which means that we can just pull them and just overlay on top of them. So in theory, we should be able to just build the really mobile specific or Halium specific packages, and we can then build on top of what's already in Ubuntu archive. So not to get too technical here, but that shouldn't be too much of a like, as I said, 5% of what's Focal was. And
Yeah.
also we want to,
I would like
yeah.
I would like to point out though there that does not really mention the things that have to do with switching over to Wayland, for example. So those are specific sub points. Is how I got it right.
Those are specific subpoints. Those are not necessarily something that we need to do. It's something we want to do. Uh,
Right.
we don't want that to hold us back for upgrading, because we can still just patch Mesa. Uh, of course, we would like to to get rid of Mir client and upgrade to Mir 2.0, but we don't want that to block us for this. We want to decouple these things from each other. We
Right.
don't want to let that depend on each other. But of course, that is also a priority
Yeah.
of.
And before people ask, yes, we do also support Wayland on phones, but it's not the default.
Yes, it's not the default yet, but a great example for it is Waydroid. Waydroid is using Wayland, so
Mm,
we have Wayland support already, and it works great. But there is some minor issues that minor. There is some issues that needs to be fixed before we can switch over completely.
right.
We want to do it slowly, so the user won't really notice any difference at all. But right now we're staying on Mir client because the, that's the more stable option right now.
Mm,
And keeping with the roadmap, we also want to, as I said before, been working on AGPS and VoLTE, and these are the same things. We want to focus on GPS and VoLTE because these two, especially GPS, is a pain point too, and VoLTE for that matter is a really pain point for people outside of Europe, or especially in the United States, because I think they completely shut down 2G there.
mm.
Um, so that's also something that we need to prioritize. Of course, we need to take the lower fruit first, and both GPS and VLT is going to be kind of in parallel, uh, but GPS is coming before VLT.
Mm.
You want to take the sponsors?
Yeah, sure. So we do have a lot of sponsors, including. Do we have those cool banners still, Marius?
Yes, I do have the banner still.
Wow. We do have banners. We should put them to use.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, we have a little bit of sponsors here, and they're from the patrons: Heather Ellsworth, Christian Jecker, Rondarius, Spendierhose, which is a phenomenal name for everyone who speaks German, PK, Kenneth Drew, Daniel Franchuk, Robin Hood, A. Thiel, Teffitzen, Garda and Associate Consulting Inc., JT, and Will Atwood. And if you want to sponsor us too and let us mispronounce your name as well, as our good friend Dalton always used to say, please check out UBports.com/donate and donate to us and bring further the development for the foundation, for the people that rely on it, and for those who wanted to, who always wanted to have this like software, that free software, mobile operating system that is backed by a foundation and wants to support it. There we go.
Yeah. Okay, so let's head straight into the question, shall we? Before we start on the questions I have written down, I saw there was some questions in the comment that I want to take on, as we have the things that we talked about in mind. There's this one. Does cellular GPS need mobile data? Yes, it does. It doesn't technically need mobile data itself, but it needs our internet connection to be able to fetch the cell tower positions. Of course, if you are out, you need mobile data, but if you have Wi-Fi, it should be able to pull it from the Wi-Fi, but you need to be connected to multiple cell towers or have multiple cell towers in your connection area. Yeah. So then I will hop into some of the questions we got on the forum. We have a question from Huge Head. Huge Head. Okay. How is the manpower in the dev team and other teams? So with this kind of work, we are most of the manpower is coming from contributions, since we are on open source project, and we are really relying on open source contributions to the project. But if you talk in terms of hired manpower by the foundation, right now it's currently 2. It's me and Rachanan. We are the 2 that's hired by the foundation. But we have had some projects that has been some hiring of a little bit different work to do different kind of things, especially in the focal upgrade, since it was so huge. But the dev team is mostly composed of volunteers that wants the same as we do. You want to take the next one?
Yeah, sure. How is integration of 2004 going? What was expected/unexpected? What did you learn during the process? Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the integration to, or the migration to 2004 surely was painful, but we got through it. It's, I mean, there are certain things that have regressed because the amount of changes was just so huge that it was inevitable to introduce bugs. So certain things might have gotten broken during the upgrade, but that's what we definitely need more testing people for, and going through the proper channels first and foremost. So our Telegram quality assurance group is probably the best place to get those things started, and doing bug reports after that, and making opening issues on GitLab for the specific project that is in question here. But yeah, I mean, it certainly was a learning experience overall, because for those that have watched it, for those that only knew the Xennial way of doing things and then making it work with Focal, it's eye-opening, because certain things had to be reworked, and they had to be thought out in a way, especially thanks to Rachanan for the way that he does it. because he has been for the foundation part. He's been crucial to this, and it's a learning experience overall because you get to see how things can or should work in another way when it comes to changing from upstart to systemd, from the renaming things and whatnot, from getting the team over to getting the team to pull on one string and make the thing happen, right?
Yeah. Also, especially some of the things that I learned is that renaming project is a huge amount of work that
Oh
you
yeah,
didn't expect. It
definitely.
sounds easy, but it's we probably touch like 10,000s of renames, if not more.
Mm. And there's still a few like little paper cuts again that pop up where the Ubuntu font is not getting used in the top bar for the clock. And I think there is a MR up now, or it has been merged already. I'm not sure. I have to check for that myself. But it's there. And things like that bring the experience back on par with what we left Xenial off, right?
Yeah. Okay, should I jump over to the next question?
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned that 2004 you changed something so future updates are more simple. Will you go for 24XX or 2404 in this case? So yeah, as I talked about before, this will make it so much easier. Like you can't imagine how much easier it's going to be. I'm not saying that the upgrade is going to be easy, but it's going to be at least 95% easier than what Focal was, because we have renamed everything. We have upgraded to systemd. We have changed to Ayatana indicators.
Mm,
We have changed some components to use upstream components, and also with our constantly uploading and building for Debian Unstable, we are always staying on top of uh, the latest open source libraries. So in that case, we know that it will already build on the current Debian Unstable, which then will be synced over to Ubuntu. So when 2404 comes out, we will already have most of the packages already in the archive and built, and uh, it fixed all those compile errors that comes up. The only thing that we really need to do is to pull in all of these mobile specific issues and also overlay the things that we have changed in the meantime that didn't reach the sync yet.
mm.
Uh, so that should be something that we will be able to do in a much easier time, and we will also be uploading a lot more packages to Debian to keep this in sync all the time, so we are kept up with the development of open source libraries. And once we get to 2404, then we are up to date and we can follow Ubuntu as they progress all the time. We probably won't jump for every release, but certainly every LTS. Yep.
All right. So there's also a little announcement, more than a question, from Ori88. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to ask if you could take a few seconds to spread that with the UT transition from Xenial to Focal, the system has now become usable on the Raspberry Pi 4. Ask all owners of an Raspberry Pi 3 or 4 to help us in testing, bug reporting, and bug fixing the system and applications. So to help to improve the user experience on those fantastic and widespread developer boards. There's a Telegram group where we can help each other. Thank you very much for all your effort and the UBports project and OT and software. Yeah, I'm not really sure where the link went for the Telegram channel, but I guess we can add it to the description after the stream, right?
Yeah, you can do that.
Perfect. So yeah, the next question is from Mr. T 10,001. With Google implementing anti-rollback features in its Android, how badly will this affect open source development, especially Ubuntu Touch, in the future? Well, not so much if you ask me, and that comes from the guy who just years ago wrote a blog post that I wanted to implement the relocking of the bootloader, which turns out to be a little bit more of a hassle, and other things have a higher priority right now. But those anti-rollback features, they are probably at the bootloader level, and when the bootloader is involved, you better get a phone that actually allows you to do modding and installing alternative operating systems instead of picking some random phone that you just found looked nice. It needs to be a device that allows you to unlock the bootloader, change things on the rootfs or on the storage, and those anti-rollback features could potentially be integrated properly into Ubuntu Touch itself. The idea would be to ship those updates, basically making use, first of all, of the AB mechanism that newer Android devices have. And second of all, implementing it in a way that the rollback is respected properly. Because in case there is an issue with Ubuntu Touch running on the phone, in case we turn out to have an exploit and you roll back to that or some malicious actor rolls back to that, then we're in the same situation and we are not benefiting off of the security features here. So I don't see it much of. I don't see the hype around I didn't see the hype around the UEFI problematic situation. I don't see it here as well. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah. Okay. So I will jump to the next question. It's from Audrey. Will Gallery app have some photo editing features more than crop like photos filters and built-in filters, or do you think using third-party apps such as instant photo is enough? I guess there are other features that Gallery photo app can have built in. Okay, so I will stop here. There's a lot of text here, but I will start with them. So yeah, if someone wants to contribute that and integrate that into the Gallery app, we are welcome. But I don't think that's a high priority, at least not right now,
Not for the
to get
14.
those. Yeah, not for the short term. But if someone wants to work on that or integrate that even into the Gallery app, or even create a separate third-party applications, that's perfectly fine. We will gladly accept that, and we will really happy to merge something like that. But it's not something that the core development is really gonna focus on, at least not for a short term, because we have other issues that we really need to fix.
Right. And Maciek brings up a very interesting point here, though, regarding the feature creep point. Unix philosophy can apply to GUI apps, though. And I agree, because this, for example, on iOS or the iPad, where I specifically developed my C++ IDE to be like working together with other applications, it turns out that Apple have figured out pretty much how to do it in a way that allows to import data from other applications, and both of them playing in the same pool, in the same sandbox, and exchanging data in a way that is understandable for people. It's sort of like our content hub, but they also have a few other features in there that basically make this like more flexible, to say the least. And you can, in theory, write at. I mean, the instant fo is a good stopgap solution, if not the solution, because some people just want a gallery and that's it. They don't want to overdo it with the Gallery app. So there needs to be some some precaution to at least to be able to design this in a way that it not doesn't feature creep too much onto people that might not like it, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I will continue that a little bit because the question continues with Content Hub, since we are on topic of
Mhm.
Content Hub. I love the way that Content Hub allows to add many features almost like it was native. But for basic features that some people use daily, it will help the UX to have some of the features you just built in. I'm quite split on the question: where is the border? What are your thoughts? So this continues a little bit more
Mm.
on the question as to have this integrated in the gallery app would be perfectly fine. Of course, the gallery app would need to be like doing the basic, and if you want to do some extreme, it should probably be more of an app,
Right.
a separate app again. So it's to have this balance, but here, like, we are open to contributions, and if
Mm.
someone wants to take on the gallery app, that's perfectly valid. If someone wants to do that, so yeah.
I will take the next one. The next question, also from Arudi. Already asked this question years ago. I just wanted to know about it, but nowadays our app package formats will keep being click for now. So the question is, will we stay on click, or are we going to move to snaps? And for that, I mean, someone is going to be angry about this, but I like snaps, and I do maintain applications as snaps, and that's the reason why I put this application, this snap enabler, onto the open store. That basically enables you to snap install things onto your devices. Now, doesn't make much of a sense on a phone to be able to install a full-blown, I don't know, C++ IDE like Tide onto a phone, but on a tablet with like half a terabyte or maybe a little bit less than that of storage, it might make some sense. And I personally like them, so that's why I keep pursuing the enablement. I don't think we will.
Or conversions.
Right, right. So, I mean, the thing is, with snaps and flatpaks and all of them, they can work. It just needs someone to do it, right? And I might be biased. Other people might be biased towards their preferred project, but in the end, those who do the work win, right?
Yeah, but also some of the things that's kept out here, there is right now there's no rush to get away from click, right?
Right.
There's no click has its really strong points that we like, and there's no rush to have either of them like gone. Wouldn't it be better to just have both, have a smooth transition, and even have flatpak too? Have them all. People can choose what they want to use, and but we also need to keep it user friendly. We need to keep it in a way where it's not too much of a hassle. If do I want snap flatpak, these things go around and round in many people's head. Many people don't really care if it snaps or flatpak or click.
Mhm.
They just want the app to work.
Right.
And I think that's really important to also keep in mind that when we design Ubuntu Touch, we design it with with users that might not be as technical in mind, and
Right.
in that way, we will probably choose the ones that are most user friendly. And I'm not saying that necessarily is one of the other, but yeah, Alfred.
Yeah, and I would like to point out the possibility that yes, we as the community might have a say in how the product looks like in the end. And for that, I mean, for a lack of a better phrase, we should allow ourselves to pick the users that we want to cater towards. And for that matter, the user experience and the possibilities of Ubuntu Touch are more catered towards end users, like mere mortal end users who just want a phone and they want it to work well and they don't want to apt around, right?
Yeah,
So for that matter, we should allow ourselves to be a little bit more picky about who we cater towards, because we can't, especially with the resources that are available at our disposal, we can't cater towards every wish, and most of them are just wishes because, yeah, that they're hard to pull off.
yeah, and also, but also, we- we're welcome to have contributions, and if someone wants to help out with this and feel strongly again for bringing in Flatpak, for example, we are welcome to PRs and to
Right,
help out with that. Because yeah, as Alfred said, our resources are limited.
right.
We can only do so much, but we 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 are not saying that we are choosing one or another, or if we are going with that or with that. It just will naturally involve in the way that best fits. And yes, they will probably both work. But what we choose, what we prefer, or what we show to the user the most, that we haven't decided yet, because it really depends on how things work, and how things integrate with the system. uh, and for now, Click is the one that works best, because then we have selected app that works really really well on the
Mm,
system. And for example, with Snap you can install Nextcloud, for example, which doesn't really make sense on a phone,
absolutely.
which is a yeah, server based, so it would need to be some sort of cherry picking of some apps and stuff like that. So this all haven't been figured out yet. But yeah, so let's see what's happening there. Um, but I will jump over to a different question I saw coming in from the Q&A, from the chat, and that was this one. Speaking of neighbors, anything about Widevine? So speaking exactly about this app that Alfred made, I took it, I forked it, and I made it into the Vide enabler, as I call it. So it is on open store, which enables Widevine on ARM64. So I had to do a lot of patching of libc and everything. So it is experimental. It is not recommended to do on your daily driver, since it does patch a lot of things on the system, especially libc, which is a very low level things. But there is an example app there that you can try, and it will install it, and you can watch Disney Plus or Netflix if you change your usage agent, and it works. So there is progress there.
Mm.
So
By the way,
yeah.
progress. Good that you mentioned it. Taking it back to the Snap enabler, if any canonical people working on Snapd are watching or listening in, how about you take a look at my PRs, please?
Shout out on live.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to be disrespectful in any way. It's just I know there are certain things that need to be prioritized. It's just I would like to get this through real soon.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is also from Audrey. Talking about Snap, is there a discussion about going from Ubuntu LTS to LTS to Ubuntu Core? Might require a lot of base work and pipeline, but reduce effort on system upgrades, I guess. Anything to share with us? Would it be easier to main specific hardware packages with gadget or get kernel snaps, or some same but different? So for now, this is probably not going to happen, because that will require a lot of work, and I think for us to focus on LTS to LTS is probably easier. And we also need to think about Snap is not really designed in the way that we are working. It might be a little bit too hard for us to do, and require a lot of patching here and there.
Mm.
And in my opinion, I don't see that being a thing that we do in the near future at least. Our path is probably more going with the AB updates of Android and following that type of mobile phone type use case. I'm not sure what your opinion on this is.
Well, we can definitely make a few changes here and there on our side, but in the end, putting everything into snaps is going to be a little bit hard. Solely because just think of it in an organizational type of way. There are two completely distinct groups. There's, well, not completely distinct. We're sharing one meal, basically. We're sitting on the same table. There is the canonical people working on Ubuntu itself, and then there is us working on Ubuntu Touch. And the thing is that integrating it, going fast, and making it work in reliably in as a short amount of time as possible uh, is a little bit hard, and the reliability of the thing is it needs to be proven whether the reliability of snapping up everything, including the kernel and Halium, would work. So I like to be proven wrong on this one, but I wouldn't go, even though I like snaps, I wouldn't necessarily go as far as saying that we snap up everything, right?
Yeah,
So yeah,
and we are we are getting close to the hour mark, so we'll
we are over
soon
the
wrap
hour
up here.
already, man.
We're over the hour actually, but I will take one last question, which I thought was a little bit funny, since the in the forum post is specifically said no porting question, but Audrey got it sneaked in. So they say you said no porting questions, so I would ask when Fairphone 5 will be listed in the UBports installer. So, so Fairphone 5 just came out. We don't have it in our hands yet. So if Fairphone are listening, please send us a device. We will port it. Well, I will
Or you
at least.
help us, maybe even. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. Even better if Fairphone would help us. That would be amazing. But as I said, the Fairphone hasn't really. The news is out and it's pre-order, but the device hasn't been shipped yet, so we have nothing in our hands yet, at
Right.
least. So it will take some time before that eventually comes out. But again, no promises. But at least I know for myself personally, I want it.
You like them thick boys, huh?
Yeah.
That came across so wrong. I'm sorry. I'm deeply sorry.
Yeah, I don't mind the thickness of the phone. I have to say,
Yeah.
but I love the idea behind it. I love being the ethical type device, and that I really love about it, and the way that I can repair it myself, and
Mhm.
the rights to repair, and don't waste as much of the
Exactly. Yeah.
environment. So I love the idea. That's why I really support that device, because it's different. It's not made to mass produce and to really just buy and sell and throw
It
away
doesn't
when
want to take over the
they see.
world. It doesn't want to take over the world. It wants to make you think, is what you're saying,
Yeah,
basically.
but yeah, that was the UBports Q&A. And if you want to see your device supported, go to devices. If you want to see if your device is supported, go to devices.ubports.com. If your device is not listed there, it's going to need to be custom made. Go to the porting documentation at docs.ubports/porting to learn more if you want to do that. And I want to list up all the social media network. It's so much. We are on Facebook, Twitter, or X these days, PixelFed, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Instagram, Telegram News, and Matrix News. And you can also chat with us live at Matrix or the forum or Telegram at UBports. So this was a fantastic Q&A, and hopefully it will happen again very, very soon. We hope to do it in 2 months again. So let's try to make that happen. And thank you for everyone joining, and have a really nice evening. Bye.
Bye.